And we welcome you to hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom, and we are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. In that studio this morning, former Congressman, current Assemblyman, current chair of the Steuben County Republican Committee, Joe Sempolinski. Good morning, Joe.
Frank, good to see you. Saw you last night at the Republican meeting.
It's hard to believe it. On Tuesday begins the primary or the petition season.
It is the most exciting
That's not
part of the political.
Hey, we save this to the end to keep people hooked.
That's right.
We don't want to talk about the exciting stuff
If
right
you
off.
talk about petitions now, then there's no anticipation.
Exactly. So we had a question from a viewer earlier, and this is almost kind of a Phil question, but you've been getting those a lot lately.
Phil just got a big promotion.
That was great, wasn't it?
Since the last time I was here, we did the joint thing with Phil. Since then, Phil is now the most powerful man in the world.
He pretty much is.
Mr. Palmisano is now the ranking Republican on the Assembly Ways and Means Committee. And, Ways and Means in Washington's a big deal. But the way we do it is Senate Finance, Assembly Ways and Means are the financial committees. And the equivalent in Washington would be if you combined the Appropriations Committee, the Ways and Means Committee, and the Budget Committee all into one committee, all that power. So every penny that goes through the state of New York, now Phil has to scrutinize for the Republican
Which could you
Party.
find somebody more perfect for that job?
He is the ideal person for that. And the equivalent role in the Senate is held by Tom O'Mara.
Yeah.
So
they already work great together.
I was having dinner with him the night before Phil got appointed, and I said, these two, my two of my closest friends in Albany are going to be handling those jobs. That's just perfect for me. That's I couldn't be happier for Phil, and obviously Tom does a great job.
Yeah, exciting news. But the question is, NYSEG's asking for another rate increase on gas and electric. What is causing this? I know Phil says
Albany,
thank you,
Democrats.
I thought it was a quick one.
Yes.
That's what's so frustrating, because you see it's perfect for the Democrats because you can blame it on big business and these bad, scary energy companies.
And I've seen Democrats explicitly say that.
Yeah.
That, this is greedy utilities or whatever. Listen. I think utilities need to be transparent. I think they need to be efficient. I think if they are doing anything inappropriate, that should be out there. But the Democrats in Albany are counting on you only blaming the person that sends you the bill.
Exactly. And
we have massive policy problems in Albany pushing toward electrification. And the amount of grid upgrades are going to happen to cover that, the amount of juice you're going to need to cover the CLCPA is enormous. To be fair, some of it is neither political nor the utility. Some of it is just changes in technology, where there are more people choosing of their own free will to buy electric cars or appliances or something. And the demand for electricity has, for the first time in several decades, outstripped the efficiencies that we've put in. So some of it is organic, that's just happening. But this is being driven, if you say somebody's to blame, if you want to put a boogeyman, it is the people that put in place the current energy laws in the state of New York. So they want you to blame some big business because that's the person that is sending you the bill. You got to look deeper than that.
Yes. And again, it's PR 101 though for the Democrats. That's what makes it so frustrating. That's why this audience is so astute, because of people like you and Phil Palmisano. They've been seeing this for a long time. They know why this is happening.
Yes. Yeah. And buckle up.
Yeah.
Because you ain't see. I know everybody's getting some big bills now, and my household is included in that. You ain't seen nothing yet.
No. This is just the beginning.
But that's if you want that to continue. Then elect Democrats. If you want things to return to sanity, vote for Republicans. It's as simple as that.
It really is that clear cut. Speaking of that, the Republicans had their conference, and we do have a GOP candidate for gubernatorial candidate, Bruce Blakeman.
Mr. Blakeman was designated, I believe unanimously, by the convention last week. So it's a little confusing for people, because I think people are more used to the presidential process, where you have a series of primaries that leads to a convention. At the state, it is the reverse. You have a convention and then any potential primaries. And so in this case, what happens is the state Republican committee people meet somewhere in the state. This time it was in Garden City on Long Island. And the action they take is designating is the legal action. That is the same action as a petition.
Okay.
If you ever sign a petition, you notice it says it's out designating petition. And so basically the convention is an alternative mechanism to put people on the ballot statewide. And if you get at least 25% of the weighted vote, you are in the primary. And if you're over 50, you're sort of the official candidate, but there's really no additional bump that comes with that. So the goal is obviously to get to 75% and freeze out anybody else from getting into a primary. And then the usual petition window opens. That'll be what we circulate for Congress and state legislature and local offices. And if somebody has the wherewithal and the support, they can then petition if they so choose. But anybody that gets at least 25% of the weighted vote at the convention does not have to petition. They're on the ballot. And in all cases, there was only one candidate that got to that threshold going into the
Well,
election.
if you were to choose right now, I say I'm going to run for governor, and you get the petitions. That's a lot of signatures.
It's a lot of signatures, and there's a distribution requirement. You can't just park yourself in New York City and get it. You got to get a certain number from a certain number of congressional districts. I believe it's 15,000 is the, and those are 15,000 valid signatures because, of course, the other candidates are going to look pretty close at your signature. So it's not something that you just go fill out a form and file it at the State Board of Elections.
Gotcha.
It's a significant process.
Well, I see Blakeman. We had a quote from him earlier this morning talking about, because really, Governor Hochul has painted herself in quite a corner with Mamdani.
Oh yeah. Zora,
Your former colleague.
Yeah, who I've never met. Zoran came up to Albany for the State of the State. Mm-hmm. And if you are a former assemblyman, you get lifetime floor privileges in the assembly, just like if you're a former congressman, you get lifetime floor privileges in the U.S. House. So if I want to go hang out down there, they'll let me do it. I haven't done it during session since I left, but it's nice to know I can.
Yeah.
So anyway, Mamdani comes and he sits in his old seat, and we have staff that are in the chamber with us, and one of them is one of our photographers who's a real nice guy, and I bump him and I go, I think that's the first time I've seen him sitting in that seat. And he's not in the assembly anymore.
Right.
He's up for the State of the State. And of course, all Democrats all clap for him and everything. So the way that went down is he claims he's got a fiscal problem. First he said it was really bad.
Yeah.
Then he said it wasn't as bad. Now he says it's really bad again. So he's all over the map with his numbers.
Is.
So he sort of browbeats the governor into her saying she's going to slip into the budget, which we haven't finalized yet. We're still in about halfway through the budget process. She's going to slip in $1.5 billion.
Please leave me alone, Mamdani.
And by the way, that's not New York City taxpayers paying for that. That's New York State taxpayers paying for that. So everybody out in TV land in the Elmira media market, you're paying that $1.5 billion to New York City because Mamdani's not willing to consider cutting his budget.
Right.
His budget, which, by the way, is bigger than the budget of Florida, even though he has less than half the people.
Keep that in mind.
So my commentary, I responded on social media. I don't get quite as much social media attention as Zoran does. I don't sit around doing this
viral videos.
stupid videos. Actually, they did ask me to do that. There is a picture of me out there doing it.
Now you just realized.
I did do it, yeah.
You trapped yourself.
Oh, my goodness, yeah. So, yeah, he is a social media wizard, not as good as me. But I did reply to him. I go, have you considered cutting your budget? Yeah. That would be the first thing. If I don't have enough money, I would consider cutting my spending, especially when my per capita spending is so high.
Yeah. It's that simple.
The next day, after the governor says, all right, I'll give you $1.5 billion of New York State, upstate, Long Island, Westchester County, their money, including New York City taxpayers' money, he says, if you don't give me a tax on the rich, an income tax bump on the rich, that he says then he will raise everybody's property taxes.
Yeah.
So what he's doing
9.5%
is he's holding hostage all these people that he was claiming to protect. Remember, he wanted to freeze the rent. So what happens when you raise property taxes? The rents go up, right? So he's holding hostage all the people he claimed to represent when he was running, and he's going to shoot them metaphorically with taxes unless the governor gives him what he wants. Again, a person who gave him $1.5 billion, or at least pledged to, the day before.
Right, $1.5 billion. She was one of the first to really support him, go all in, endorse him, stood by him, did everything. Remember, it got embarrassing when he wasn't endorsing her, and she's still going on. I know he ultimately did, but she's going to rallies, has to hear chant or tax the rich, those chants, and she's done all that for him. And every time he can, he gets
That's
her.
right. And so right now he knows he's got leverage.
Yeah.
And what I found fantastic was what he was assuming, because he has no idea what he's doing.
Right.
Is that people would say, well, they're going to blame the governor. Governor better, do this income tax. And instead, everybody is smarter than that. Mm-hmm. Oh, I got excited. Everybody's smarter than that. And they all blamed him for even contemplating raising the property tax. Mm-hmm. So it blew up completely in his face because he's a complete incompetent. Mm-hmm. And so that will be the story between now and the end of March, is how far can Mamdani push Hochul?
Yes.
And he already, with minimal effort, got $1.5 billion pledged. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure he's going to ask for more.
Of course.
And the problem with the tax the rich, I mean, it sounds very nice, right? Oh, some rich guy, whatever. It's a state tax. Right. All they're going to do is move to Florida. All they're going to do is move to Texas or Tennessee or wherever. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to get, instead of what you're getting now, you're going to get zero. Mm-hmm. So it is completely, it doesn't make any sense. The way to do it is to make New York City a place where people want to do business, where people want to move, and you have all the advantages already. You've got Wall Street, as long as you don't continue to drive them out, which they're in the process of doing. So make it easier to do business and cut your budget a little bit, and you're going to be fine.
And think about it, too. We always talk about the exodus, but it's also about the people that coming in. We're not going to get the people that are saying, well, I'm rich, I'll move to the
There's
Big
no
Apple.
one. No. There's no one in Florida saying, I think I need to move my business to New York City.
Yeah.
There's no one saying that. And again, don't forget about the $1.5 billion. Who he's asking for that money from, he's going to Hochul.
Yeah.
But Hochul isn't writing a check out of her own, piggy bank. Mm-hmm. She's getting it from the taxpayer. So his first move, his second move that blew up was to go after his people. His first move was to go after us, and the rest of the state, saying you all need to pay for New York City.
Yeah.
I frankly think New York City should handle New York City's problems. If New York City's got a budget problem, they should fix it first. And if we're going to start the path of the state's going to do things to help municipalities, why is it only one?
Yeah.
Again, I don't think it's fiscally irresponsible.
No.
But if we're going to do it, why are we picking winners and losers? Mm-hmm. It's bonkers.
But when he proposes that, and then I love this quote, and I'm sure you've heard it by now, with Assemblyman Michael Benedetto from Bronx saying, "I'm not enthusiastic about raising taxes in an election year."
Yeah, I thought that was it. So Mr. Benedetto is the chairman of the Education Committee. Right. And I
said right like I knew. I had no idea.
Yeah, and so there's interesting two parts of that statement. The first phrase, okay, yeah, I'm not interested in raising taxes. I agree. It's in an election year, which means well, what are you going to support next year?
Yeah, right.
Next year's not an election year. Does that mean you're cool doing this next year? I think policy is good policy or bad policy, regardless of whether it happens to be an election year.
I would think that's how it should be run. Right. And I thought the Post put it perfectly. You can give him credit for quote unquote his honesty, but it's more of a confession. I mean, because it's very much.
He sort of said the quiet part out loud.
Yeah, exactly, and that's very reminiscent of what people are saying about Hochul when she's about congestion tax.
And he's what he would be considered, at least in the New York State, in the New York City Democrat world. He's moderate.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right, we got to take our first break. We got some comments coming in. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. In that studio, Assemblyman Joe Sempolinski. Joe, I think we could fill the rest of the time with these great questions we're receiving.
We always get really good questions. I enjoy it, and I appreciate it, the folks out there and watching the show and sending in their thoughts.
Good morning, Frank. Tell Joe not to sweat the high energy bills. The Democrats will start an energy bill assistance program. That's a good one.
That's right. Yeah, it's like those and your student loans and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Joe, with the population of New York State, for example, moving south, when will New York State begin to lose House and Senate seats? Well, not Senate, but House seats. And will Florida, for example, gain seats?
It's been happening for decades.
And they're predicting what? I want to say they were predicting.
I think it's like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
I mean, we're about halfway through, so it's tough to project. I think it was 2 was the last one I saw. So every year they sort of project what's going to happen. That is a phenomenon that has been happening for decades. Mm-hmm. We're in a state that used to have more than, I think in the mid 40s was where we peaked.
Yeah.
And that was decades and decades ago. So we have been losing seats. Even in times when the population goes up, it's not going up as fast as the rest of the country. And so the number of House seats is not a measure of absolute population. It's a measure of relative population because we haven't increased the size of the House in about 100 years. So if you keep that constant, if you don't rise in population as fast as the average portion of the country, you still lose seats even if you gain population. And now we're in the position where we're not just gaining slowly, which is where it was for a long time, we're losing. So that has been a long-term trend. And as we said, according to current census projections, and we won't know this until the next census is 2030 and the next redistricting, well, hold on. There's a whole other, we can talk about Staten Island. Okay. The next on-schedule redistricting, because we have some other stuff to talk about. The next on-schedule redistricting won't be until 32, but we are projected to lose more seats and that process to continue.
All right. Good morning, Joe. Steve here. Good morning, Steve. Isn't it amazing how he wants to raise taxes for New York City residents, but then he also said that there was going to be a rent freeze? So how does somebody with such little intellect actually somehow eventually realize that this is what is proposed is actually not a possibility? Pay more as a property owner, but that you're not allowed to recoup what that additional cost is? What is your thoughts?
It's almost like he's a charlatan demagogue.
I know, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's as simple as that.
Yeah, exactly. He found that, and I still think it was, we got to get more questions, but a perfect storm. Yeah. Cuomo didn't, in that primary, did no campaigning.
Yeah, and the problem was you were trying to rally people behind Andrew Cuomo.
Exactly.
I think if that was John Doe,
I agree.
Jane Smith,
yep,
random person out of the phone book, they'd probably defeat him. But it was very difficult, and I get it. It was very difficult to rally people around Andrew Cuomo, who had been such a disaster in other ways.
Yes.
So, that's not to say Zoran was better. He was, and I said this on the show. He's just different.
Yeah.
They were both awful, but in 2 different ways. So if it was somebody that was just random person X, random politician X, who didn't have such a horrible track record as Cuomo, it would have been easier to rally people around them. It would have been easier to rally Republicans, especially around him. But Cuomo was so toxic that it opened the door for Mamdani, and you had an interesting situation where you had ranked choice voting in the primary,
right,
but you don't have ranked choice voting
in
the general. If you had ranked choice voting in the general, Cuomo wins because I think it would have been people's second choice. Although to be fair, Mamdani did break 50%, so there's an argument to be made that he would have won even with a ranked choice voting system. He didn't break it by a lot, but would people have campaigned differently in that scenario? You never know. But the fact that his dancing partner in that election was somebody so toxic was a major factor.
Vote for the thing you don't know is better than in this
scenario,
the
this was
person
sort of
you
a
do know.
devil you know, devil you don't.
Yeah, exactly. All right, good morning, Frank and Joe. Well, good morning. Have you ever seen the YouTube video that someone took down in New York City, right next to Citi Field where the Mets play? There's actually a homeless illegal refugee camp set up underneath the bridges. Totally third world, unbelievable. This is what taxpayers are going to pay for. Yeah, and
I haven't seen that video.
I haven't either. And I saw that
Mom
Donnie already kind of backtracked a little bit on he is sweeping up some of the homeless camps.
Yeah, I mean, what was interesting was, he had 20 people die.
Yeah.
And we talk about, he talks about the warmth of collectivism, which apparently is just a metaphor.
Yeah.
And you have a situation where sometimes you do need to sort of help people, even if they're not willing to help themselves, right? And leaving someone out in the cold to die is not compassion.
No.
And we made some changes in voluntary commitment. And again, I don't want people locked up just to be locked up. But the change we made in the last year was you had to be sort of before a threat to yourself or others, like an imminent threat to be committed for mental health. And we moved that to you just can't take care of yourself. Because you had people that were not violent, but were just, living in their own effluent out on the street. That's not compassion. Leaving somebody like that is not compassion. And so leaving someone out to freeze and die is not compassion. And it showed you just how incompetent this guy is, because he's got some silly idea that it might look bad to pick up a homeless person. Right. He'd rather let them die than do something that looks like it might not be woke and trendy. I mean, that's just it's just horrible.
Yeah, and wasn't it amazing how the media, they love him so much. I don't even know if anybody had their shovels out yet when the storm hit, and they said he's doing great. He's doing great, and then all of a sudden the news has to unfold, whereas there's garbage in the streets. People haven't been able to go to work for weeks, and then anyway. Comment from different viewer. Mark says, how the heck can a mayor of New York City put demands on a governor? And if she cowers to him, she has no backbone. We need Blakeman. Good point.
Yeah, I mean, as far as Hochul's backbone, I agree. As far as if the menu of options we're going to have, almost certainly on the ballot is Blakeman versus Hochul.
Yeah.
Blakeman's the better choice. That becomes a very easy choice. And I know a lot of people are disappointed about Elise getting out and all those things, but if you say to me, and this is what we're all going to have, and this isn't just a me thing, this is every voter thing. You walk into the booth and it's going to be Blakeman or it's going to be Hochul. All right, I'm voting Blakeman then. Yeah. But as far as the governor-mayor relationship, it was a very interesting one, because you have one that is ostensibly much more powerful. The governor is the governor, and the mayor is merely a local elected official, like the mayor of Corning or the mayor of Wellsville or the mayor of wherever.
Painted
Post. Yeah. And however, you could argue Mamdani's probably the second most famous human being on the planet.
Right, which is wild.
And so you have one that has a lot of de jure power, the governor, and one that has a lot of de facto power, the mayor. And that is always, every time, a recipe for fighting. Think of all the fights de Blasio and Cuomo had.
Right.
So the mayor and the governor almost never get along because of that dynamic, where one's really the one in charge, the other one's so famous, and everybody talks about him, and they're on the cover of all the magazines, and it drives the governor nuts and all these things. So, and that is made even more important now because we're leading into re-election season. The entire state legislature is up for re-election, and the Democrats from New York City are terrified of Mamdani that he'll endorse somebody, put them on the ballot against them, defeat them in a primary. So he has a lot of leverage, not as much over the governor as he would if she had still had a primary.
Right.
But he has an enormous amount of leverage, especially over the state legislature. And so he is at the vanguard of the ascending radical socialist wing of the Democratic Party, and he's going to flex his leverage right now because he knows he has it.
Same kind of concept. Ken writes in, it isn't how much Mamdani can push Hochul, it's how much do Hochul's puppet masters want Mamdani to succeed in his or their socialist dreams. Thank you, Ken. And one last comment before we go to break. I like this one. Good morning, Frank, and good morning, Joe Sempolinski. What a way to start the day.
There you go. It's like with Folgers in your cup. Or
exactly right. Stay with us. We'll be right back. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Joe Sempolinski in that studio. A couple more comments, Joe. They're coming in fast.
All right, good.
Wishing we could talk a Trump family member into running for governor of New York. I'm thinking Barron Trump could do a better job than Hochul. I agree.
There is a age 30 requirement for governor
that's
of New York.
right.
I don't know if Barron's 30.
I think he's probably 21, maybe
20.
20.
I think he's legally, under the state constitution, he would be too young. And does he live in Mar-a-Lago, or does he live at Trump Tower?
Mar-a-Lago. Oh, no, but he's a student in New York.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
We're spending too much time on it.
Yeah, okay.
But a different Trump then.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
All right, good morning, Joe. We know nothing about Blakeman here in upstate. Can you tell us a little bit more about his experience or what he stands for, or anything about him that might give us some insight? Obviously, Hochul would never get my vote, but an independent runs, I don't know, Blakeman, the independent will get my vote. Ooh, interesting.
Gotcha. So Mr. Blakeman is the sitting Nassau County executive. Nassau County, as most of the bigger counties do in New York State, has an elected county executive. He was recently reelected last year to a second term. So he's been a long time. I think he had been on the county legislature several decades before. So he's a long time active political person in the Long Island world. As county executive, he's gotten quite a bit of attention, especially sort of standing up for the girls in sports stuff. That's sort of got him his most national attention. That you shouldn't have biological boys in girls sports, which I certainly agree with the county executive on that. Defending girls being competing against biological girls makes a lot more sense. And I agree. I think any person who's the Republican candidate for governor, the way you win is you have to energize Republicans, not just in one portion of the state. If you're an upstate candidate, you got to campaign downstate. If you're a downstate candidate, you got to campaign upstate. And then you also got to find a way to get independents and common sense Democrats to vote for you, just based on the math. Right. Now, the big advantage that Mr. Blakeman has as far as getting common sense Democrats is the mayor of New York City, where I think, and especially over the last week, it's become very clear, you're going to have some people that are sort of more moderate go, this is really not what I signed up for. Those folks that voted maybe for Cuomo in the primary or in the general election but are Democrats. So you put that together and you can build a coalition where the math starts to work, especially if you hit certain numbers of crossover votes downstate where there's a lot of votes. But I have recommended to the Blakeman team and to Mr. Blakeman himself personally that he definitely get upstate, and he's been doing that. He's been various places upstate recently. And,
I saw him somewhere. I can't remember where it was.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's he's somebody who is coming in with significant qualifications. Being a county executive of a large county there's nothing quite like being governor, but that's one of the potential previous jobs that's as close to it as maybe you're going to get.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit, because you had hinted towards it. This redistricting, that kind of broke yesterday. Yeah. What's happening. Give us a little update and what this means, because I know you're passionate about subjects like this.
This is absurd what they're doing. So usually you redistrict, you do the census in the year that ends in 0, you have new lines in the year that ends in 2. And there was a lawsuit, which people thought at the time was sort of a frivolous long shot lawsuit, to say somehow the congressional district where Staten Island is, which is the most Republican portion of New York City, Staten Island, is somehow unconstitutional because it didn't give enough representation to racial minorities. Now, remember who drew these lines. These were drawn, and we went through a lot of different iterations, but the current iteration was finalized by the legislature, the Democrat legislature. And so currently, it's Staten Island paired with sort of a moderate portion of Brooklyn. And what they're going to want to do is pair Staten Island, because you can cross water and still be contiguous, go up New York Bay and grab Lower Manhattan.
Wow.
Which is intensely Democrat. And it's so Democrat that even though it won't be a majority of the district, that it'll tilt
the whole district
to being a Democrat-leaning district. And remember, the point is they're saying it's somehow an unconstitutional because of racial reasons. The presumptive candidate the Democrats would run would be Congressman Goldman, who is Caucasian. He's white. Right. So they're not going to somehow increase representation from a racial minority by doing this. And so it was sort of viewed as this absurd sort of lawsuit because it really didn't make a lot of sense on its face. And they got a judge to say that it's you got to redraw it,
and then
you kind
of expect that, right?
Where they went.
Exactly.
And remember, they've locked in under statute. Yeah. Well, the last redistricting case was in Steuben County.
Right, exactly.
They didn't like that one bit.
No.
And so they locked in. The only place where you can bring these sort of cases now are Westchester, Manhattan, Albany, and Buffalo.
Yeah. Okay, so there you go.
So then it was appealed, right? Yeah. And so what came down in the last day or two here was the appellate division, which is the mid-level court in the state of New York, upheld
That's unbelievable.
The initial trial judge. And because there was no dissent, there is no automatic appeal to the Court of Appeals. So that's sort of it.
No dissent on that. Think of that.
Yeah, so that's sort of it for the state. What is still hanging out there, because the counter argument is, well, no, you're not, preventing racial discrimination. You're drawing a racial gerrymander, which has federal implications. There's the possibility of a Supreme Court intervention. So the state court avenues are pretty much done.
Yeah.
And the Supreme Court has yet to weigh in, or we don't even know if they're going to. But there's a
time
possibility.
frame wise. So how does that even work? I mean, we're
It
talking.
would have to happen in the next couple of days.
Yeah,
very quick.
Yeah, and even then, it's a struggle.
And because we're about to start the petition process, and so you got to know where to pass petitions. And so I think this is sort of the first situation where you're trying to take a Republican seat and flip it Democrat this year. There is still the possibility that the Democrats will amend the state constitution to allow gerrymandering, which again was outlawed by referendum very recently. There is still the possibility they'll do that, and we could get completely new lines for the whole state if they do that, not for 26, but for 28 if they do it expeditiously. So stay tuned. But at least the Staten Island seat, which is currently represented by Republican Nicole Maliotakis,
which you got to feel bad for her because she's fought so hard, and that's not that's not a gimme district.
That's right. That's right.
And here she is doing everything right.
Doing everything right.
Yeah.
And so the possibility of that going to a Democrat-leaning seat is looking, sadly, absent Supreme Court intervention, more likely. And again, in my opinion, the lawsuit was completely and utterly absurd, and this entire thing is a miscarriage of justice.
It really is. We got to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Keep those comments, keep those waves coming in. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. In that studio, former Congressman, current Assemblyman, current chair of the Steuben County GOP, Joe Sempolinski.
All right.
Yeah, your introduction takes up a lot of time.
Yeah, that happens. It's funny in Albany when people have to do that.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think some of the other members maybe don't like that as well.
Probably not.
Although, did you see that Mark Molinaro?
I saw that. I'm glad you mentioned that. He's
might be running for. So we starting a trend.
Yeah, we're starting.
I may not be. So
you are a trendsetter.
The outgoing minority leader sat next to me at a meeting last week. He goes, there may be another one of you coming, and then it looks like it's happening.
It does. I saw it on Empire Report, and that'd be interesting to watch. He's a busy guy. He likes running.
I've known Marcus for 9 years, and he is simply the best retail politician I've ever met in my life. And so I think if he does end up running, which I think he is, he's definitely going to win. That's a Republican seat. And
people will remember him because he ran for
governor in 18, and so that seat, the Assemblyman's running for Senate because the senator's running for Congress against the congressman that beat Molinaro, and so he's sort of going 2 slots down.
I will say about him, I interviewed him a lot during the gubernatorial race back in radio. He's the guy that when it's my birthday, I'll still get a Facebook thing.
Oh,
Hey, Frank, happy birthday.
Yeah.
It's like,
that's what I mean as far as like retail politics.
And just an all-around nice guy. All right, we've been talking about state. Let's move up a little bit here. You know what? Let's talk really international. Let's talk about foreign policy, shall we?
Oh.
AOC.
Do you want me to sort of?
Could I ask you about Taiwan?
Yeah, that's right.
We had an article in the Hill this morning, and it was quoting Trump. Did you see what Trump said about AOC yesterday?
No, I didn't.
I didn't know she was so stupid, or I didn't know she was stupid, and this is probably a career ender. And am I paraphrasing? Kinda, but it's not. It was. Yeah. I didn't know she was stupid. Anyway, so the Hill then goes, well, this is what the quote was. They talk about editing the quote. They took that last little second. They don't talk about the staring. They don't talk about the
where she sort of deer in headlights pose. Yeah.
But anyway, so was that the career ender? Trump says, I don't think it's career ender, but the whole media coverage of this has been fascinating.
Yeah, I think a couple of reasons why it's important. There's 2 reasons in my mind. Is one, she's clearly thinking about running for president.
Clearly.
So this was sort of her debut on the international stage, because what's different about president compared to any other office is the intense foreign policy role, right? Where you're, the leader of the free world. Yeah. And that's a tough job. And, the world's a complicated place, and it's a difficult place. And so this was her chance to sort of, roll herself out. And contrast with how good Marco did.
Yeah.
Like Marco crushed
He did great,
right?
Didn't he?
And, he's the Secretary of State.
The media even had to admit that Marco did a good job.
Right. And especially the only other portions of the government that sort of have a foreign policy role are senators, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Senate, that's a little bit of an advantage compared to even governor, where you can say, all right, these world leaders know me, respect me, whatever. So the fact that was her debut on the world stage in that way leading into potentially running for president. That wasn't good.
No.
And then, and I think where
you know where I'm going. You know where I'm going with this.
How the press deals with it, where she gets negative press
for the first time in her
career.
career.
Like that at all. And gets a lot of them to sort of either backtrack or issue like a second story.
The New York Times was literally a press release, is how you would put that. It was defending her, quoting her, and somehow, as it always turns, she gets an opportunity to just criticize Trump.
Right.
It's whataboutism. And the View was saying that, well, she might have done bad, but it looks like she's in Mensa compared to Trump, these type of things.
Yeah, that is sort of the go-to now where they don't have anything. A Democrat is something that's obviously stupid or obviously corrupt or obviously bad or just, unwise or whatever it is, something negative. And the only play they've got is the Trump card, which is like, well,
it really is.
But
excuse me. Yeah,
I've got TDS or something. It's that sort of ridiculousness.
But I could not believe. Why would I say that? Of course, the New York Times would do that. But for her to get sweetheart coverage, almost like Messianic language used for her, her whole career, and then CNN put she was humbled, which that's not that bad.
No, right, and we've talked about this on the show before. There's no Democrat elected official in America that could stand the level of scrutiny and nitpicking and context manipulation that a Republican has to deal with when they deal with certain elements of the mainstream media. Certainly not Big Fox.
No.
Big Fox is fair to people of all political backgrounds.
You're 100% right. Speaking of which, we're going to talk about some more kind of the national stuff here in just a second. A couple of things that I forgot to mention when we came back from break because I was so excited about talk about AOC. What is currently going on with upstate becoming its own state? Is anyone presently considering it? Who did I read? This always comes up, but there is somebody presenting. I think it was like Staten Island or something.
Yeah, there's talk about Staten Island seceding from the city of New York.
That's what.
So it would still be in the state, but be its own city.
Gotcha.
Like for instance, Brooklyn used to be its own city next to New York. They used to be sort of twin cities, and they combined, and the other areas around it combined with them. And so there is talk on Staten Island. I happen to sit right next to one of the there's 3 Republicans from Staten Island. One of them sits right next to me, and the one that's really pushing it sort of sits down the aisle from me, Sam. But I mean, if I lived in Staten Island, I want to be part of the rest of the city either, because they're the only part that votes, with an ounce of common sense.
Yeah, exactly. Mark writes in, I see James King is running against Nick Langworthy. Joe, what's your thoughts on that?
I haven't had any contact with this gentleman.
Well, that's the problem, and because we're going to talk about petitions later on. It's very easy to say you're running for something.
Yeah.
And then now on Tuesday, push comes to shove, right?
Yeah.
And that's not saying he won't do it. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying I've seen some op-eds and things that he's put out, but
what I do find a little odd is him doing joint campaign appearances with the Democrat fundraiser.
Yeah.
Which makes me sort of be skeptical of where the gentleman's coming from. I'm supporting Congressman Langworthy. I'm going to vote for Congressman Langworthy. I endorse Congressman Langworthy. The Steuben County Republican Committee has endorsed Congressman Langworthy. I have known Nick my entire political career. I have a unique perspective on Mr. Langworthy because I'm his predecessor, which is, you don't have that usually.
That's not a normal.
Where you have the former congressman, I guess unless it's me and Marcus running around in the state legislature. And so I am supporting Mr. Langworthy for Congress in the 23rd Congressional District. And by the way, Steuben County has also got part of the 24th Congressional District.
Yeah, that's right.
And I was just texting with Claudia Tenney last night, and she's great. And I'm endorsing her and supporting her. And I hope we keep Nick and Claudia and Phil and Tom and Andrea and myself, and we have a great team in Steuben County.
And we are going to talk, because when it comes to petition season, this is a busy one. I opened up the packet yesterday.
A little thick.
This is when you're even a little more sheepish about knocking on the door. Hey, do you have 45 minutes to sign these? Yeah. But we'll talk about that in a moment. I want to get your take on this, and I don't want to waste time on Stephen Colbert, but some reason this has made national,
and in a very disingenuous way.
Right. So the idea, first of all, he should want to interview both sides, not even just two Democrats.
Right, because that's the part that bothered me, is it was presented by Tallarico, if I'm pronouncing his name right.
I said it wrong now.
It was presented as if somehow this was Trump silencing him, and that the network had kowtowed to Trump to protect Republicans. No. What this was the Texas primary is very early.
Very early, yeah.
And you're a public broadcaster on the public airwaves. If I get an opponent and I come on your show close enough to the general election, I mean, not today, but close enough to the general election, that person has the right to demand equal time. If you give me an hour, they can say, hey, you put that on the public airwaves, which are regulated by the federal government, I get equal time. So they were within that window, not for the general election, for the primary. And so the person that they were refusing to give equal time to was Crockett, another Democrat.
And the thing is, the CBS lawyers, I think, were smart on this because, again, it's win-win for him.
Yeah. Oh, he raised like $2 million afterwards.
Well, definitely him.
Yeah.
But I meant for Colbert.
Right?
Yeah, for Tarico, it was. I mean, he couldn't have asked for a bigger win on that.
So he presented. They were, being unfair to the other Democrat in the primary.
Right.
Again, they have a very early primary in Texas, one of the earliest in the country. It's in March. And he presents it as, they're doing the bidding of the Republicans.
Yeah.
And it couldn't have been further from the truth. And so that was what really bothered me, was this was an equal time problem. Long-standing federal broadcasting rules.
Exactly.
For decades. You abide by them.
Yeah. Wasn't it last year? Not 2 years. Saturday Night Live. Remember, wasn't Harris on, and so then
they had
Trump
to give Trump time.
He got a little commercial.
That's
or
right.
something.
He had to get equal time. Right. It's a long-standing rule, and but this case it was Democrat versus Democrat. It wasn't Democrat versus Republican. So they were favoring one Democrat.
Doesn't it look pathetic? Because to me, it looks like Colbert wants to be Jimmy Kimmel so bad to have that.
Well, Mr. Colbert is going away.
I know.
His show's not going to be long.
How bad would you feel if you're Crockett? Because at first Crockett comes out and goes, hey, Stephen Colbert's always been good to me. And then I think it started hitting her like, whoa.
Yeah,
so
she's
my
the
opponent,
victim here. I'm not a fan of Ms. Crockett.
No. Okay, really.
But she is the one that...
Full disclaimer.
Yeah, just to be totally clear. I'm not a fan of Tallarico either. But she was the victim. They weren't protecting Republicans. They were protecting her.
Yeah, and Tallarico gained, what was it, 2.5 million
That's what he claims,
first day.
Yeah.
And it's all the attention. People watching the video see why it was censored.
That's right.
If I were Crockett, I would be a little paranoid to think that clearly Colbert wants her opponent to win.
Right.
Because why wouldn't he just come out, and the New York Post put it, I thought, really well, saying, why is Stephen Colbert so scared to interview a strong black woman running for Senate?
Just put them both on, if you put them both on the air.
Yeah. It's not like they said, okay, you're interviewing Tarico.
Right.
Trump's got to come out.
If you were within the window of the general election, then you'd have to put the Republican nominee.
Exactly.
But as long as you don't wade into
he's not going to make it till then.
That's right.
He's done in May.
As long as you don't wade into the Republican primary, you can just, if you want to put the two Democrats on there.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's... And I got to give them credit to lawyers because it was the right move.
They did the right move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
again, these are rules that your station has to abide by.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's something, this is what bothers me about Colbert or any of them. It goes to show you how far left the late night shows are. I love having both candidates on.
Yeah, you invite everybody. Which is appropriate. You're on the public airwaves.
Yeah, and it's great to see, because my opinion, I know that's an entertainment program, but you want people to see all candidates. Why does it have to be some bubble? Because we've all seen the numbers of the late night talk shows. It's like 98. Right. And the only time they have one conservative on is just because it's that conservative that badmouths Trump.
That's right. You get some anti-Trump person.
Yeah. So to just, and again, we're not talking Republican and Democrat. We're talking two Democrats.
Right.
And you could argue that Jasmine Crockett was clearly the bigger star power.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? I mean, she's got, for better or for worse.
Again, I'm not a fan, but she's certainly good about getting attention. Isn't that the easy solution? No. But isn't that the easy solution? You just put them both on the air?
Yeah.
You don't have to put them on the same show.
No one
demanded that.
That's what it is. If he gets an hour, they get an hour.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer. All right. Oh, hey, here's one. If I didn't miss it earlier, and this is my fault, I should have asked this. Did Joe mention his Salamanca town hall? I'm curious as to how the demographic leans.
Oh, that was good. That went fantastic, actually, and that was interesting because Salamanca is a very unique place.
There's a picture still up there. Look at that crowd.
There you go. So, voting-wise, it actually leans Democrat.
Okay.
And it also, the city is within the Seneca Nation territory. Mm-hmm. So you have a lot of really unique jurisdictional issues, a lot of really unique political issues. And so in any town hall, you really don't know what questions you're going to ask, but especially in a place with more unique issues that they're dealing with. It was fantastic. We had, I think just under 30 people come, which is sort of the ideal amount. You get fewer than 25 to 30, and it's tough to have a conversation. You get more, sometimes, you get sort of goofiness that happens. So it was right in that sweet spot as far as having a real productive, in-depth conversation. Republican and Democrat people came. Everybody was there earnestly. Everybody was there to ask legitimate questions.
That's great. See, that's what you always get concerned about.
I got no problem if somebody is, I'm not their cup of tea, but they're there legitimately to ask questions. And frankly, the good thing about Salamanca, even though it leans Democrat, is the type of Democrats are more sort of rural, law and order, blue collar Democrats than perhaps maybe the type of political perspective that you get from like Ithaca, or something. It's a little bit different dynamic. So I felt very welcome there. I was, we were hosted. The mayor's a Democrat. It was her room that we were using.
Oh, that's great.
And it was extremely productive and extremely positive. And I appreciate being so welcomed by the people of both Salamanca and the Seneca Nation.
And this is what, your seventh?
So that was the seventh one that I've done. 6 just me. I did one where it was me and O'Mara both did it. So it was advertised for both of us. So I'm going to count that as 7. And then I've done 2 where Senator Borrello just happened to be doing my district, and I showed up and took questions, and George let me stood up there with him. So depending on how you count it, you could count it as 9 as opposed to 7 too. We're pretty aggressive. We try and do about at least one every 2 months.
Great. We got to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio in that studio. Joe Sempolinski. All right, a couple comments here, Joe. Or one. I'm sorry, I like this one. We can't lose Nick, meaning Nick Langworthy.
No, I agree. I'm going for him.
I know. Yeah. And love Claudia Tenney.
I love Claudia too. Yeah. Again, I have a unique perspective on Nick because we've known each other a long time, and he was my successor. And Claudia in 3 counties was my successor as well in the Finger Lakes. And I served with her. She was in Congress when I was there, and she was like my big sister down there. So I think we have a great congressional delegation in this part of the world.
And I do have to take another break here pretty quick because I always get lost in the breaks when we get talking about so many things. But it is petition season. I know we've talked about all of that. We're going to end the program with that. What do you think right now? And this is going to be kind of time sensitive. So this is live right now. What do you think about what's going on with Iran?
Oh, yeah, because it depends. If you're watching it live, I don't know. Because it seems like there's been a lot of movement of
every time you look,
things in that direction. And
thank goodness this is live. Because if you're watching this 5 minutes later, it could be.
Who knows? Yeah. And so there's a lot of talk that there may be something. Is that, aggressive posturing? Is that preparation for some sort of military action? I don't know.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's something only the president would know. Really, what he plans to do. I will say this. I was a congressional staffer when Obama did the stupid deal he did with them, and they are I don't like war, period, but they are certainly one of the biggest threats in the world as far as how they sponsor terrorism and being so anti-American. And frankly, I'm talking about the regime rather than the people. They brutalize their people.
Where are the protests in support of the protests?
Yeah, that's right. You get people getting killed.
It's very easy to go on Marcus Street on a nice spring day and protest with anti-Semitic signs. What those people are protesting about ending a regime, and they're doing it at a very good chance of loss of life.
Correct. Yeah. So I do feel it would be better for the world if there was a more democratic regime in Iran. It's going to be an interesting time and see how this goes here over the next week or two.
All right, last break. Get your last second questions in. We'll be right back. Frankly Speaking, Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are getting to wrap up here. It's hard to believe that went quick, didn't it, Joe?
Yeah,
always does.
Always fun.
It always does.
When you're having fun.
That's right. A couple comments. Ken writes in, it's interesting that the only states that have a budget bigger than New York City's, we're saying New York City.
New York City, not New York State.
Not that state.
Right.
Budget are California, Texas, and New York.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, they're bigger than Florida.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
That is good. And Mark writes in, Frank and Joe, great show, very informative. Have a great weekend. Well, that's very nice of Mark. All right, it is petition season. How do people get involved, Joe? Because it's a tedious job, but it's an important job.
Yes, petitions start on Tuesday, and that is our ballot mechanism. We have a very difficult ballot access mechanism in New York State. It's a petition process. The example I always use is county-wide offices because they have it harder actually than anybody else. So this year we have a county coroner up, Jeff Spalding, former police chief from here in the great city of Corning, and our current coroner. He's running for a second term. He needs 1,000 valid signatures to get on the ballot.
And people don't realize what that's like. I mean,
yes.
Think about 1,000.
1,000.
I went out before when I only needed 100 or something. I went out and spent half a Saturday and got two signatures. Two signatures.
Yeah. And so that's why when we joke that if you get petition signatures from somebody, they're going to love you forever. But this year we've got, you don't do petitions, as I said, for the statewide folks with the convention process, but we've got Congress, state Senate, state Assembly, some party positions, and then coroner. Plus, because of the even year law, there's now a good chunk, there's about 40 offices, mostly town supervisors and highway superintendents, that will now have to run 2 years in a row. They ran last year, they have to run this year to move them to the even year. So we've got a little bit more local flavor. We got a town board position in Irwin, we got a town supervisor in Bath. There's a bunch of the, again, about 40 of them. So if you've got something local or county or state or federal, person you really like, and you're willing to help with their petitions, that goes a long way. It's the most tangible single thing you can do to support a candidate.
We are out of time, and you can go joe.sempolinski@gmail.com.
That's my personal email. Yep.
All right, Joe, thanks for giving us so much time. Let's do it again soon.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll be back Monday with Frankly Speaking.